Hello everybody, it's me, Evan, and we're back with another video. And I'm recording this straight after I've just finished recording my video about meditation. So go check that one out. I'll put a link in the description if you're interested in knowing more about meditation, if you've ever thought about trying it, and you just want to know what it's all about, or I don't know, hear my take on it, lessons I've learned from doing it over the past 6 years, that sort of thing. Yep, go check the video out. But if you are interested in hearing my thoughts about purpose, then you've come to the right video. Where was I? I just got a phone call from my sister. Purpose, yes. If you are interested, intrigued, or have thought about and wondered about purpose at all, then yeah, this is my take on it, my things that I've discovered over the years about it, just lessons learned, ideas put forward, whatever, I guess. Yeah, conglomeration of ideas and lessons. We'll start with, is my mind map. So we'll start with the idea that you have to be lost to be found. This is an idea that was first put forward to me when I read the book Way of the Superior Man by David Deida. And he emphasizes the fact that you first have to be lost or get lost to then be found or find yourself. And I've struggled. There's definitely periods of my life where it's been harder to accept this than other times. Like when I'm feeling down and low and sad about life, or a little bit depressed, or things aren't going so well, and you start to get confused and you feel the intensity of the lost feeling ramps up, and I kind of like think about this, and at times I'm just kind of like, fuck that, fuck this, why do I have to? It gets a bit frustrating going through those phases where you do feel lost and confused, and you don't know what you want to do with your life, and you don't know which way to turn, or what to put your attention and focus onto, or what you should try next, or whatever it might be. And it can be a bit overwhelming when you're in it, when you're kind of down in the mud, trudging through it. It can really just be the last thing you want to hear. Someone will be like, you got to be lost to be found. But but there is a lot of truth in it. I've discovered that the only reason that I have gained a lot of clarity on the things that I want to pursue in my life, dreams that I want to chase, then the reason I've gotten clarity on those things is because I've had those periods where I've been confused and lost and not knowing what I want to do. So it's been incredibly vital, I would say, to discovering that or gaining clarity on that. And a good example I guess I can think of is over the last 4 or 5 years since I finished school, I moved out of home straight away, lived in many different cities. I've lived in Sydney, I've lived in Newcastle, I've moved back to my hometown of Tamworth, I've lived in Melbourne, and I've lived in Brisbane now. And Brisbane is the first place that I have moved to that I actually want to stay, that I actually want to set up my life there. This is the first place I've been where I've been like, wow, I actually really like it here, and this is the kind of place that I'd want to create a lifestyle around. I'd want to, establish social networks and whatever, I don't know, I guess you could say, like, establish my roots in this place. And so it took me living, so you could think like it took me to live in all those other places to figure out, oh, like here's a place I really like and I want to stay. And here's all these reasons why. And all those other places were nice in their own ways and had their pros and cons and whatever, but it didn't really resonate with me in that way. And same with different jobs I've tried. I've been a door-to-door salesman, and I've been a groundskeeper, and I've helped my dad run his business back in my hometown, and all these different things I've tried, and the whole time doing all these things, when I tried them and was doing them, I was asking myself about the longevity of of the thing itself. Do I see myself still enjoying this in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now? And I'd look at the people higher up in me in the company and think, do I want to be in this person's position? Do I want to become somewhat like this person and live their lifestyle in this kind of professional arena? And a lot of the time, it was pretty hard no, or even a soft no. Like it'd be like, well, it's not too bad, but I had the awareness to see that within myself and notice, well, not too bad kind of sounds like I'm settling for something that I'm not really truly enjoying, and that doesn't really, kind of fulfill me in any way. So I'm going to keep on going until I find something that does. But the whole time that I was doing all these different things, my mind would always go back to performing. That's something I did when I was younger in various different ways. I was always performing on stage. I did dance classes. We had a dance concert twice a year. I did piano lessons. We had piano recitals every term. I did holiday acting workshops. I did musicals. I did whatever I could. I loved performing, and I've always loved it. So my mind would always go back to that. And even if I wasn't performing on stage, I've loved helping out backstage when a performance is happening with a musical or a big, school spectacular in New South Wales, and that happened a few years ago. I was helping out for 2 years. Those things, I think back to that experience in those moments when I'm doing these things that I'm not enjoying, and I think, wow, I'm comparing the contrast of this thing I'm doing now and how much joy I'm deriving from it and from fulfillment I'm deriving from it is nowhere near the levels of joy and fulfillment that I derived from doing these other things. And the more things that I tried, the more I realized I'm just kind of wasting my time trying all these other things when I know that this is the thing that I love doing. And I've gotten to a point now where I'm actually steering my attention and focus towards chasing those dreams of things I've always wanted to do. And it feels good to finally be on that path, kind of to be on. It genuinely feels like I'm on my purpose these days, and it's exciting. So that's kind of ties into this other point I've written down, where you've got to try new things. You've got to taste everything at the buffet of life. Well, you don't have to taste everything, but because there's plenty of things I haven't tried out. But as I said, the more things I tried, the more I realized I was wasting my time and energy pursuing those things because I already knew what I liked. So you've got to put yourself out there. You've got to go out in the world. You've got to try new things. Try different jobs. Try different professional arenas in different industries. Go traveling. That's a really great thing to do. Go traveling around the country you live in. Australia is massive. It's so huge. There's so much of it to explore. So if you live in Australia, go traveling around Australia. Like, that's something my dad did when he was about my age, apparently. He just took a big, he saved up a bunch of money, or he sold his trucking business, I think, and he just used that money to just go traveling around Australia for a year. And, a lot of people my age go traveling because they're young, and you want to go explore the world, that's a fantastic thing to do. It opens up your mind to so many different things. You see the way that other people in different countries live, and the different cultures, and the different things that they value, and all that jazz. It's incredibly enriching. I would highly recommend go traveling. But yeah, the best analogy I can think of is like, as I said, a buffet of life. You imagine you're at a buffet. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet. You can have as much of anything you want, and there's 50 different dishes you can choose from. So the best, I reckon, I don't know, maybe not the best, but a good way of going about things would be go get your plate, put a little bit, a mouthful or two of something or other, this next thing, the next thing, whatever else takes your interest, and you try it. You have a little mouthful. Do I like this? Yeah, I really like this. And you put a bit more on your plate. You put a bit more on your plate. Put a bit more on your plate. You go back, you eat that. That was really nice. And you go to in the next section, you try different other things, and there's going to be plenty of things that you go, nah, that ain't it, chief. I do not like this at all. And you're just going to, spit it out, chuck it out, whatever. Just put it back, or maybe not put it back, but you get the point. So that, I find, has been incredibly valuable and important for me, is just trying all these different things and seeing what they're like. Because if you don't like it, good, now you know. So you can just move on and just try something else. And I guess, people could argue like, once you get... I found for me that, as I said, I was asking myself those questions while I was doing the thing. Do I see myself doing this? Can I see myself doing this and still enjoying it in a year, 5 years, 10 years from now? And do I want to be where the people ahead of me are? Because that's going to happen if you stay down that path long enough. You're going to end up where your managers, where your bosses, where the head of the company or whatever it is. You're going to end up looking... your lifestyle is going to be similar to theirs, because you are the result of the 5 people you hang around the most. And so if you're going to work every day, 8 hours a day, Monday to Friday, you're hanging out with these people that you work with, sooner or later you're going to, pick up their traits, become like them in some way. It's inevitable. So yeah, you've got to ask yourself those questions while you're trying the thing. And if it's not a fuck yes, then it's a no. That's something that Aubrey Marcus, I've heard him say on many different podcasts, and it's a really good rule to go by, I reckon. If it's not a fuck yes, let's 100% I'm in, let's do this, then it's a no. And even if at first when you try the thing, if you do it for a few days, a few weeks, a few months, and at some point you start to be like, no, this isn't quite what I thought it was, this isn't like how I thought it was going to go, then listen to yourself and trust that intuitive feeling and jump on and go to the next thing and move, let it go, move on, try something else. Going back to that point of you have to be lost to be found, it's okay to not have things figured out. Give yourself some grace. Just understand that pretty much no one ever has everything figured out. Some people might have some things in life figured out, but nobody ever has everything in their life figured out. There's always going to be something that's not quite there, that could be better, because I guess that's part of the human condition. Our potential expands according to how much we are reaching it, I guess. I don't know, could I say that better? Hopefully you get the point. Your potential's here, you're reaching your potential, but as you reach it, it expands accordingly. So you can never reach your full potential in any area of life, so you'll never really have it all figured out. No one will ever have it all figured out. And if they tell you they do, they are lying, they are bullshitting. So yeah, I would not trust that. It's okay to not have things figured out. Just chill. Just breathe in, breathe out. if you feel like you're completely and utterly lost, you're so confused, you don't know where to go, great. Be there, be in that space, be in that state for a while. Because once you're in that sort of that stage, that's when you'll start to figure out what it is that you like, what it is that you want to go for. Because you're kind of giving yourself space, you're giving yourself space to be bored. And when you get bored, you're automatically inclined to go for things that you enjoy, well, I would hope so. If you're listening to yourself, if you're checking in with yourself, if you're aware of who you are, of what you like, then you'll naturally gravitate towards those things. And that brings me to my other point. You have to know yourself before you can be yourself. And I've always heard this, and I've always been so annoyed and frustrated because it's such a wishy-washy kind of vague statement. I'm like, how the fuck do I know myself? That's such a woo-woo thing that's just so vague. There's nothing concrete that I can hold on to in that statement. And so when I wrote this down, the next point I wrote from that, because these two things came to mind, which was sort of more concrete things you can do that'll actually help you figure out how to know yourself, how to get to know yourself. And one is being in solitude. That is incredibly important. And being in solitude, as in just being with yourself, being alone, and just seeing what happens. How do you feel? What comes up for you? Sometimes there's been periods of my life where I've figured out that I love going for walks sometimes in the middle of the night or 3 a.m. and I just go for a walk to some place that I've never explored in whatever city I happen to be living in. I go for a walk around my neighborhood and just map it out in my head, so if I go down this street, it goes this way, my house is back there, and sometimes I've had heaps of fun just doing that. And I say solitude because you can be alone without being lonely. I've come to discover I'm very okay. I actually rather enjoy during certain periods just being alone, just being by myself. Obviously it's very important. Everyone needs their own time, their own just time to themselves. But I feel like I've noticed a lot of people, when they're alone, they feel, incredibly lonely because they're alone, which makes sense, I guess, but I can't say I've ever really been able to relate. When I'm alone, I really value that time with myself, and that one of the biggest reasons is because it's given me time to get to know myself and who I am and how I work, and I guess something that's helped with that process is being incredibly introspective, reflecting on things. I think back to past experiences and I think what was that trying to teach me? What was a lesson I could take away from that thing? And I might journal about it. I might write some things about it, or just at the very least I'll replay certain experiences in my head and I'll think to myself, what would I do differently if I could go back in time and go back to that experience? What would I do differently that would make that a better experience or would make the outcome more desirable or whatever it might be? I found that's really helped. And experiencing things on your own or going on solo adventures, that's something that could really help you get to know yourself. Go traveling, say, going back to that travel example, go traveling on your own. Don't go with a friend, don't go with friends or family. Go on your own. See how you can handle and maneuver through all the challenges and things that come up while you're traveling, or even just something as simple as going on a road trip, or as I said before, I like going for walks sometimes. Just in the middle of the night on random days. And I found that was that's been really fun for me, just helping me get to know myself, because I'm just up really late and I feel like getting out of the house. So I just get up and go for a walk for a couple of hours, and I explore my neighborhood, or I go someplace that I've never been to before, and I have this very kind of childlike explorative nature about those sorts of things when it comes to that kind of specific example. I'm just like, ooh, what's this all about? Let's see what's down this road, and what's in this place, and where does this path lead? And I'm just curious, and it's lots of fun for me personally. That's just something that I found has helped me. And I guess the last points I can finish off with is yeah, again, I can only speak from my experience. For me, purpose is often never really been like this crystal clear, very well defined thing that kind of necessarily fits into just a simple little phrase or a simple sentence. It's often, for me, it's been a hunch or some sort of gut feeling, an intuitive feeling that maybe this might be a good idea. And if that's all I've got to go off at the time, then I'll go for it. I'll follow that and I'll find out. And I'll try that new thing, or I'll go for that walk, midnight walk, or I'll just move to a different city or try a different job, whatever it is. It's like, well, I don't know if this is my purpose, but it's all I've got to go off at this point, so I might as well just go for it and see what happens. And even today, as I said, I feel like I've figured out I'm on sort of a trajectory that is aligning with my purpose. But even then, I couldn't. It's more of like a feeling than something I can articulate. And even if I could articulate it, I'm not sure if I'd want to share it with the world or anyone really. It's kind of just like, it's my own thing that I know within myself, and I feel like it becomes that knowing of me being on my purpose becomes less clear, more muddy the more I share it with people. So yeah, I'm not going to go into detail, but purpose can and will change or evolve over time. And it's like an onion. Purpose has layers, onions have layers. It's this constantly evolving and shifting thing. You're not gonna always have the exact same purpose for the rest of your life. But, well, that being said, that might be like your core purpose. You might have this very core central purpose, this thing at the base of your being that is the reason that you were put on this earth. The reason you're here is to XYZ, fulfill XYZ purpose. And that's sort of there at the base, the core. And then everything, all other purposes might come out from that layer by layer in all sorts of different ways. And they'll constantly be changing and evolving throughout different periods of your life. Your purpose when you're a baby is to drink milk, poo, sleep, and cry, and crawl around, It's basically your purpose when you're a baby, and then your purpose when you're 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. It's like these things constantly changing and evolving because you're constantly changing and evolving. So don't get too caught up in being too kind of set in this has to be the thing for the rest of my life. As I said, just go with it, find out, see if you like it. Just try new things, because then you'll know. And if you don't like it, good, because by definition of your clarity of not liking something, you automatically gain clarity on the thing that you do like, because it's like, oh, I don't like this thing. Therefore, even if it's on the subconscious level, the polar opposite, you kind of assume like the polar opposite is a thing that you will like, or something that's different to that is something that you will like. Well, that's something I've noticed within myself. Is like when I've really kind of stopped to think about it. If I do something I don't like it, and then I do the thing that's the opposite, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I really like this thing. But I think, well, of course I like this thing because this is the opposite to the other thing that I didn't like. Like, duh, that kind of sorts itself out. Go forth and have grace with yourself. Be lost to be found. It's okay to be confused. It's okay to not know where you want to go, what you want to do in life. Just try new things. Just be alone, be in solitude, reflect, be introspective, go on solo adventures. And sooner or later, you'll start to figure out a thing or two at the very least. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe. I'll be putting content out as much as I can. And check out my Instagram if you want more short form things that I upload onto my Instagram stories every day or so. And if you feel like you'd get value out of being coached by me in any sort of area of life, it's related to the things I talk about here on the channel, then there's a link to my coaching services down below. Have a nice day.